So with game dev practically being a house of cards, I'm sure that you've experienced your fair share of issues in the last few days since the launch of Season 1. One of which I'm glad was already taken care of was the social menus not being able to be accessed. You had to do a workaround to just invite friends to games and such. So I'm sure that you've experienced something of noteworthy discussion since Season 1, and with that in mind, communication isn't the biggest strong suit per se when it comes to keeping tabs on issues publicly from Call of Duty. So today, I wanted to run down some of the things that are known issues, where to find them, and see if the official channels are keeping up with them and when to expect them. So as we go along, drop your thoughts below. Is there any one bug or glitch in particular you keep running into? Is there anything that you'd hope to see fixed out sooner rather than later? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. We've got a ton upcoming still and a packed content schedule, so if you're part of that 70% of viewers not subscribed and you'd like to stay in the loop with all of it, I'd love to have you in the community and join us on that road to 600,000 subscribers. But for now, let's take a look at these changes coming in the next update or updates. So firstly, where to find these notable fixes. The Trello boards right now are the main source of these sort of lists for upcoming fixes and the problems players are facing that they're aware of. For those unaware or are newer to the scene perhaps, whatever the case, Trello boards are a workspace set up, in this case by the developers, to list off these known issues and have them be sort of pinned announcements and discussions on status updates for certain things. They do this as to not clutter their official comms channels like the studio Twitters, the brand accounts and all, though honestly, from someone like me who's totally dialed in, I wouldn't personally mind that if they did, but I know as a regular player, I'm sure that it would get annoying to see constantly. So what has been laid out? What's been detailed already? Let's start on the Modern Warfare 2 side of things. This one handled by Infinity Ward. This Trello board, one of the big things that's still listed partially, not quite updated just yet, but kind of at the same time, they added an amendment to it, was that social menu fix. Again, that would be something that would not allow you to invite players, but there was a convoluted workaround where you could invite your friends, but if you wanted to add a friend or so, you couldn't at all. So it was a much larger issue than just inviting people to play the game. But that one, thankfully, we can check off, though again, it's later noted that a bug actually still is caused by this fix that makes other players' showcase weapons be all M4s. A fix is inbound for that as well. Another big one is the player camo progression not tracking in some instances, and this is something that is unfortunately back again for the every single year that we see this. With people already being able to get Orion camo, I was kind of surprised we actually had no real issues at launch with camo tracking and everything like that, because usually every single year there's some bug that delays the inevitable earning of the max camos in that year. But it seems like some issues are persisting, though they are more so minor. I'm not seeing them in larger scales, but they are aware that if your tracking is not going as it should, fixes are inbound for that. There are a bunch of other things here, like players being unable to use battle tokens for your battle pass. That's something that they're working on and ironing out, though for a lot of people, you may not even notice that that's an issue. Again, kind of one of those hit or miss things here with that. There's fixes inbound for smaller things like players unable to equip operator default executions. Laser attachments in the third person mode are currently disabled while a fix is being worked on. The CDL private matches are temporarily disabled. They didn't specify why, but I'd be willing to bet that it's because of the sort of first 3 weeks here that we had. People were able to see upcoming content via the CDL playlists. Everything was unlocked in that. You could equip Orion camo from day one and everything like that, but you could even equip calling cards and emblems and actually transfer those into the full version of the game as opposed to other things you could not. So they were essentially glitching items that they weren't supposed to have via the CDL playlists. That's something that was then taken offline. Again, I would guess for that reasoning. Dev error management in private matches is being worked on. Ground War Santa Senya APC spawn has an area that renders it immovable. Personally, good. I hate tanks. If you've been around the channel, you know that one for sure. But as much as I hate tanks, they are a part of the game, and so therefore that's something that needs fixed out as well. The DDoS field upgrade is bugged in availability. The helicopter height is bugged as well. That stuff is being fixed out. But all right, that's some more technical stuff, some more minor things, and things that, for the most part, a lot of players might not encounter. I think that I've probably encountered maybe 3 of those in the entire listing, but there's absolutely more stuff that is being tracked on the back end. The big one that I can guarantee are things like crashing issues, which are abundant, bear in mind. I've had plenty. It is incredibly annoying, absolutely, but that's one of those things that they absolutely have logs on those. They're being ironed out. It's just not necessarily specifically stated. It'd be kind of like beating a dead horse. Not only one would it get repetitive just to continuously say we're working on crashing fixes, but I mean, ultimately, that is something that's truly game breaking. The game doesn't work when it crashes, so obviously they're going to be fixing that out as well. Hopefully those ones sooner rather than later, and that we don't need to wait until mid-season for a major patch or anything like that that can iron out the stability, but genuine stability things are always monitored even if they're not listed. But jumping over to the Warzone 2 side of things, this one's a bit more bare simply because this was set up after the launch of Season 1 here, or rather with the launch of Season 1. The Trello board from Modern Warfare's side was something that was there from launch. So there's 3 weeks of additional tracking, additional information being reported and everything like that going into the Modern Warfare one as opposed to the Warzone one. The big one for me that is being investigated and a fix is coming is players having skipped down phases. Whereas if you end up getting downed, you just die immediately. Doesn't put you into that down state no matter if you have one self-revive or multiple, because you can stack those this year with Warzone 2. You'll just be eliminated immediately from the match and need a buyback from your team. Now, from what I've seen, this is something that occurs only after you end up partaking in the gulag, whether you win or lose. Doesn't really matter, but it's that sort of second life nature where it just entirely skips that down mechanic. It seems hit or miss as well. I've had it happen where I've died immediately, but I've also then come back from the gulag and been downed and had the opportunity to get back up. So it seems really hit or miss, really random. I personally don't have any idea as to what could be triggering it, but that's something that they're investigating, and fingers crossed a fix is inbound sooner rather than later. Beyond that, we have operator executions continuing on from Modern Warfare 2 into the Warzone side of things as well, where players are unable to equip those operator executions. The play again button has been disabled. It caused stability issues within the game, so while they're ironing that out, the play again button is currently not there. There are inconsistencies with the after action report, where players are reporting that XP is not being shown, though it does not actually impact XP gains. They will still be there, it's just not showcased on that after action report. And then there's a few things in DMZ like backpack disappearances, as well as the helicopter mission, where objectives that require eliminating reinforcement helicopters are not tracking properly. So while there's not as much listed here on that end, some of those have a little bit more weight. Personally, what I'm really hoping for though is some sort of addressing further of things like lobbies not filling up in both Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2. That seems like a server side thing here, and I know that of course there can be plenty of jokes made that, oh, the game's failing right off the rip, we're not getting full lobbies, whatever the case, but that's truly a server side thing. Additionally, the insane amount of server lag in Warzone 2 is absolutely insane. It usually seems to start around the match start, and then once a certain amount of players either disconnect or are eliminated, it kind of levels out, but still, you shouldn't be having that happen. And then finally, hitching issues across the board. For those of you guys that don't know, hitching is like when your game stutters, but it's not necessarily like lag, it's quite literally the game just being unresponsive for a half second or so. This happens so much to me now. It happened to me a bunch since launch, but since the Season 1 update, it's happened tenfold by comparison. And realistically, it always seems to happen right before a gunfight, so it's really just incredibly frustrating. So fingers crossed we get some sort of addressing for that as well. But that's the stuff we've seen for Warzone as well as Modern Warfare 2 for upcoming changes that are being worked on. Now, is that all? Absolutely not. The Trello boards are just a way to keep track of changes that will be made on a technical end, some studios going more in-depth than others. So I'm curious to see how in-depth Infinity Ward goes with their Modern Warfare 2 one. If I remember correctly, Treyarch was really in-depth with theirs during Black Ops Cold War. Raven was pretty decent at it, but Infinity Ward is really, I think this is their first cycle here of doing this. Trello boards really weren't a mainstay, if I'm not mistaken, during Modern Warfare 2019's main year of support. So we'll see how up-to-date, how in-depth all of it can go. Fingers crossed, though, that it's a good way to communicate these changes that are upcoming. Now, when to expect these changes is the next big thing, because thankfully a lot of these things we won't really have to wait too long for. A lot of these are smaller fixes in the grand scheme of things and won't necessarily require a major title update that is perhaps next up on deck for the mid-season update a few weeks away still. Most of, if not all of these, can be pushed through simple playlist updates, presumably, and for that, I think that that's pretty nice, but also it makes the prediction process a bit harder because they can push an update out at, let's say, 5:26 p.m., some random time like that. And, well, I know that because that's exactly what they did at the exact same time for the social fix yesterday. So it is quite literally something that could happen at any point, though, with some of these being more minor, those probably getting knocked out within the next week or so. But a lot of these things, in terms of stability, are absolutely some higher priority things. So fingers crossed those get fixed out, even though there's not any specific time granted here for this or any major update upcoming that we know of. And speaking of updates, we're starting now to see this sort of mini vacation here for those in studio, in office, at Infinity Ward, and at Raven. That's simply because for those of us in the States, Thanksgiving is coming up as of next week. So companies are letting their employees have like that week break from now up until the end of next week. So that Monday to Friday is considered off, with the weekends obviously being out of office time as well. So I wouldn't quite expect any major title updates or any major updates to go out within the next couple of days. But again, those playlist updates, those that are still working through the holiday, they could probably push through some of these. So either this week or next week, I'd expect most of these to be scratched off the board, but that's just an educated guess. For now, though, that's the changes that we know coming to the upcoming updates here over the course of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 here in the next couple of days to weeks. Some of these things, of course, much bigger than others, some more inconsequential things that you may not have noticed at all, but changes coming no less. So that's it. That's what we're gonna call it. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Are you guys hoping for any particular change that you may be needing, or is there anything in particular you're really just hoping to see communicated? Again, me personally, I'd love to see those lobbies not filling up, the server lag, and the hitching issues all addressed officially, but fingers crossed, but we don't know. For now, though, that's what we're gonna call it. So if you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. For now, thanks so much for watching. Mona's Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.